Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And Samira, thank you for accepting our invitation and coming on board to this gathering. And especially for those who took the time off your busy schedules to come and listen to another politician. When I say another politician, it's historically we have now been suffering over and over again, listening to new people, listening to new theories, listening to new, trying to understand new faces, but ending with the same result. So something that we want to do as National People's Power is to put a stop to that. This will be probably the last political change that people would not regret, and Sri Lankan politics to go forward from here in a more positive note. I think the symptoms are clear. We have been able to elect Anura Disanayake as the president, a person who upheld his integrity and worked really hard for the cause that he believed in, and supported by a team who's equally competent and dedicated. And also alongside, there's a huge community both within Sri Lanka and outside who supported this change. Otherwise it would have been impossible. So when I was asked to have a session specially focused on industries and the economy, it anyway was my core for the last 1.5 years, especially under National People's Power. So my thought was to kind of give you two aspects of me being here and talking about the industries. One is to talk to you about what I could bring to the table. Second is about the National People's Power policy, so that you have a clear idea when you go out of here, out from this room, that you are confident to convince the people who did not vote for us. That's very much important. As Samira said, now the task for us is to ensure that the people who didn't vote for us will vote us in the upcoming general election. So if I have to start about myself, it's very difficult to talk about yourself in front of an audience, but given we are new, given we are not known as much as Mr. Ravi Karunanak and the senior folks who has ruled this country, we have to now tell a bit about ourselves to build confidence, and also to show that Anura Disanayake and NPP has chosen a team who can deliver what we have been preaching. So for me, basically, even from school days, I did what I believed in. I haven't so far done anything against my heart. And when I started believing in something, I ensure it happens. So I think NPP was also a choice for me. It was a difficult choice. When we wanted to find alternative political stream, the option for us was to build one, the hardest way to do it, because there was no choice by 2018-19. And luckily we had National People's Power as a platform which was growing, which was inviting, which was allowing people like us to be part of it. So we took the hard route, we took the long route, and I think we've done what we believed in as a team. And in terms of picking National People's Power, there were various traits that I looked into, because most of them resonate with my own life. I worked for MAs for 16 years. The values and the traits or the disciplines that we upheld in that organization, in managing over 113,000 people, doing multiple roles in that organization, I found some of them are very much instilled in national people's power. Firstly, it's being the honesty and integrity. I think the people who continue to sustain JVP for the longest period has been able to hold that trait for the longest. And the new party that was built on top of that has that inbuilt with everyone who has joined so far. And the discipline. So for any organization, any country, anything to succeed, the discipline of the team, being able to adhere to policies, procedures and standards makes it successful. So that's what made us successful in winning a humongous task, which was the victory against two big political alliances or regimes which had more power than us, more media than us, more money than us. And it's quite funny to see the entire campaign of Ranil Wickremesinghe is in 2 pages. And Sajith Premadasa has collected money through selling tickets to the members. So it also speaks about this process, and NPP has that. And also in terms of the teamwork is something that what I admire. We don't have superstars. His Excellency Anura Disanayak also tells that I am not I am not Superman. But we have a team. We have the Avengers coming up on the next election so that we can make this together. So these things kind of help me to coincide this team and work together. I'm not saying that there were no disputes, there were no times that we felt sad or bad or angry, but we held it together because we always had something common to work on, something that we all believe in, a greater goal beyond our individual purposes. So I think that's what makes NPP beautiful, and that's what keeps me here for the last 4 years and doing so in future as well. So when it comes to change, I've been standing for change even within my organization, even among my friends. When there's injustice, I have spoken up. And what I always believed in from a social change perspective, only education can change the game. Because for me, by 2018 and 19, I never thought a political change is possible in Sri Lanka. Because we knew the education levels are very low. When I say it's not about the literacy of being able to write and read, but being able to understand the gravity of the problems, the solutions, and also policies. Even today, I find a lot of people who voted for National People's Power who has not read the policy book. So Sri Lanka will continue for a long time in this, mode of gut feel and, feeling this right thing rather than, making a very calculated, educated guess. So that is where I felt for longest that if we can fix education and if we can enable people, that is where the real democracy will lie. So that's a journey that we have to go through. Now, the good thing is we have the opportunity to put the education back on track. So when I say education, it's not about the academic knowledge, it's about the social knowledge, it's about the ability to make decisions, think critically, question people, question the status quo, challenge, innovate. Those are the education traits that a country would need to aspire to. And the other piece, when I got exposed to technology, that is where I felt the entire world can be made very much fairer and equitable through technology. Because we all know society is unequal in many ways. And there are a lot of issues that we are faced with because of lack of information, because someone is fooling someone else, because there's no transparency. So all these problems can be mitigated by technology. That is why I also started falling in love with technology, because the entire world is now talking about transparency. So where abnormal profits for some and suffering for majority can be avoided if we have a great transparent society in terms of production, in terms of governance, in terms of many things, in even with the legal aspects. The level of issues that we are having today is lack of information. And also, technology will also allow humans to become human. Because as we speak today, our mundane work, the things which are not value adding, is getting taken over by technology. But that value has to come back to people. One day, there will be a time that the number of hours we work will reduce. And the number of hours we will spend with our loved ones, society, nature, and number of hours we will spend on ourselves will be greater. And that only can be driven through technology. So this is why I personally believe technology and education are the two key tools or two key transformations any society can go through. So for Sri Lanka, it's very important because we are at a very primitive stage. So when I started learning about politics or get into politics, that is where I started understanding the social problems that we are faced with and how those are being wrongly narrated. We have been listening to one particular narrative in terms of how economy should work, how money should work, what's the role of the government, what's the role of capital. So all those things I was never taught in my school days or even the university degrees or professional education. The depth of the economics was not being taught. So over the last 4 years, I started exploring, and I would say that very few Sri Lankans or very few scholars would have read beyond what's in the textbook, because world is not about demand and supply. That is the truth. And there are so many myths about taxes that we've been talked about. We talk about taxes being high or low, or taxes being misused or not used. But the real problem for Sri Lanka is not collecting taxes. Not many people talk about this. The entire crisis we are faced today, especially government going into more and more borrowing and paying interest over interest and getting into this debt trap, and also reducing the available funds for the development, is the root cause is non-collection of taxes. That government should not engage in any type of business. This is absolutely untrue. Every developed nation, when they wanted to grow fast, they use the SOEs in a strategic manner for two reasons. One is when the private sector is not ready to take on those industries, or when there were not enough private entities that is openly or willing to give a competitive prices for industrial inputs such as energy, telecommunication, transportation. An entire world, there are various models. The government-owned or the state-owned enterprises make huge impact in the industrialization and supporting the businesses. But we were told over and over again, government should not engage in any commercial activity, which is absolutely wrong. So we will again have to read and learn how other countries use these things strategically. And when it comes to the role of the government also, we are hearing a lot saying government role is to ensure passport office is running, an identity card office is running, police is working, and the legal systems are working. No, there's a substantial role for government in growth. And if you take the history in terms of UK, US, or any other country, when they were trying to win the world, when they were trying to become superpowers of the world or inroad into the global value chain, the governments have played a pivotal role, and they are still playing a pivotal role in shaping the economy. So there's a huge role for government. And also in terms of market failures, especially in essential goods. So there seems to be a very I would say a very simpler definition of goods and services today, which says the market will provide goods and services efficiently. Not at every time. So when I say essentials, it's essential for life. It can be food, it can be essential services as education and health, and that necessarily cannot be provided by the market because price can prevent someone consuming it. So therefore the market failures are abundance in terms of provision of essential goods across the world. So there are roles the governments will play either as a regulator or either as a facilitator or either as a provider in these essential goods. So these are 4 or 5 things I started reading about. So I would like Sri Lankans and professionals and scholars to read about this in global context. How other countries ensure that their industries are driven fast and their people's essential needs are met in various ways of private, public and people partnerships, which is also the policy of national people's power. How do we ensure there's equitable access to people for goods and services? There's equitable opportunity for everyone to become part of the economy, and also to ensure that the lives of the people continues to improve rather deteriorate as a small portion of wealth creation happens in the country. So these learnings are the ones that put me under national people's power. It's not that national people's power has a policy or economic thinking that Chathuranga had to come to politics, so he had to choose NPP. No, this is what I believe in also. And we are not shy to say we are socialists. I'm proud to say I'm a left-oriented person, because the entire fight or the struggle for me going forward is to make a just and equitable society. We believe the society can be made more equitable, more fair, more just to our environment, rather accumulating wealth under a certain small portion of the society and making a majority suffer. So this is not a Sri Lankan problem, but we will keep on fighting for a fairer and a just society. That's what we mean by left. And how we are going to get it done is on the strategies and the processes that we will follow and implement. So that is why I want to say first, who I am is what I represent. National People's Power is equal. And the entire team who believes and stands by National People's Power, we have put up a very strong policy document, and it is very progressive, and it is in par with the fastest growing nations in the world. So now I come back to the topic of industrialization and how Sri Lanka would achieve what we want to achieve. So when South Korea or Vietnam or even Bangladesh is moving very fast in the global value chain, South Korea achieving $1.6 trillion of GDP, we stand at 84 billion. So first we need to understand the difference between these countries and us, so that we can agree what differently we need to do. First, we all now have agreed that whichever the strategy we are going to implement, the current political structure or the corrupt political structure will not allow Sri Lanka to move an inch. So that is why we have brought in a new team, especially a team who has zero tolerance for corruption. But now we need to understand what this team will do within the next 5 or 10 years, right? So I'm going to tell you few things which is different, which we didn't have, but which was used in other countries. First one is a national development plan. So far, none of us know which industry is going to thrive in Sri Lanka, which are the priority industries, and how far it's going to go. So to start off with, we have put up a strategy with few priority industries, because that will be the pinnacle of our goals that the entire country has to run for. So there are potential in, as Samir said, in terms of tourism, in terms of IT, in terms of agriculture, in terms of our maritime services, in terms of our minerals, and in terms of our apparel also, which we already have. So there are various priority industries that can push Sri Lanka forward, both in the local consumption requirements as well as the exports. But we never had a target that the government and the industry runs together, because unless we establish that, there's always a disconnect between what the industry wants to do, what individual company wants to do, and what your government is doing. And this also creates a huge inconsistency in policy, because so far what has happened is there has been a lot of ad hoc decisions in policy making, because we never had a strong central planning unit. And this has been established and proven both in India and South Korea, where the national targets will be set, and not a single minister can, talk to a friend of his and bring up a proposal directly to the cabinet without it being part of the overall game plan. So this national planning and ensuring that Sri Lanka has a trajectory that everybody is clear of is something that will happen differently with National People's Power government. The second piece is, we always say government as a facilitator, but Sri Lankan business have never got facilities or facilitated unless you know the minister. But that is also at an ad hoc basis. When I say facilitation, it starts with registration to renewal, to get your certification, and getting something done with R&D, going into another country. All these things are supposed to be provided by the government. And given that we don't have an integrated plan, given that our cabinets never work together, given that our departments don't talk to each other, given that our state institutions does not have technology, it always has been problematic for every industry. Whether you are a local industry, a businessman, or you are a foreign investor, you have been troubled from the day you started to the day that you exit the business, giving up, saying this is not the country for me to do business. So this is the key change that we will drive to ensure that the government will provide these necessary facilities, and also along with technology, that your lives will be made easy. Without doing this, no country can go an inch forward. Whether it's about your tax, whether it's about your customs issues, whether it's about your license renewals, right? Now we know People are suffering at the passport office. We need a little bit of time to fix it also. It's a whole burden that's coming on our shoulders now. But similar to that, entire government process is weak, starting from urban council to BOI. So this is something we would change, and this is what has changed in other countries, so that the business environment, ease of doing business, has become the key success factor of those countries. Thirdly, it's about the skill. So currently our workforce that we generate out of education is not fulfilling the needs of the industry. The industrial needs for skill, whether it's soft skills, whether it's technical skills, whether it's high-end graduate skills, it's not matching. From a matching perspective, either it's a shortfall. If you take the IT industry, it's a shortfall, and also IT industry has a skill mismatch. Tourism industry, it's a skill mismatch, right? And apparel industry, it's a skill mismatch. So even though we have a lot of industries that want to thrive, our education system is not providing the right output. So we need to have the national development plan along with the manpower plan, and that need to coordinate with the education system. So in the education system, there needs to be more reforms in terms of the entire education landscape, starting from preschools and ensuring the children are not bound by exams, and their ability to innovate and think will enhance within that period. And after probably grade 9, they have the liberty to choose a particular path of skill or entrepreneurship or professionals or higher education as a path of learning. In Sri Lanka, people think higher education is only graduate schools, and that is not the case. In any country, there will be 10 to 20% who pursue higher education either after school, in graduate schools, or even after when they started working, maybe at the latter mid-age of 20s, right? But there's huge opportunity for skill-based higher education, which we have not invested thus far. And also the other piece is, even most of our industries, with all the difficulties, with all the cost structures, has been able to export certain amount of goods and services. There has not been enough trade facilitation provided by the state. The people who are supposed to bring in trade facilitation are not working properly. The commercial attaches and the government officials who are residing in many developed nations with the expectation of expanding our trade and investment has not made a significant I have to recall the word significant, has not made enough routes for us to go there. And there are no KPIs for these teams. So therefore there needs to be a huge shift in how we look at foreign services and what is the purpose of foreign services. And also looking at markets which we have not penetrated so far, there is a lot of opportunity. So every time you talk to particular foreign embassy or a foreign ambassador, they talk about opportunities. But those opportunities are not being fulfilled or taken wholeheartedly by the Sri Lankan counterparts. And the other part of our industrial policy is about research and development. So we all know world is changing. The current markets are saturated. So if we start producing goods and services which is currently today, we won't get much far, because we are fighting against what's already being delivered or what markets which already been fulfilled. So therefore, even with our lowest capacity, with limited funding, we have to collaborate now with the industry and the government and the academia to make purposeful research and development initiatives. So far, Sri Lanka does not have a strong collaborative approach in solving industrial problems. Everybody talk about problems. People talk about problems in fisheries, people talk about problems in agriculture, people talk about problems in transportation, and these are being tried to fulfill or fix in isolation, and it's not working. So R&D policy that will get implemented even with the smallest investment government can put is going to make a big change in comparison to other countries. Now we are at the lowest level of R&D spend, and even the spend that we make are not being commercialized enough for Sri Lanka to go to new markets or new products and create. And the last piece about the investment side. So we did not have a investment friendly environment. When I say FDIs, if you are talking about FDIs, Sri Lanka has not been able to attract FDIs over the past 40 years in comparison to other countries. The entire FDI portfolio from 1977 to 2022 is about $21 billion, whereas Vietnam brings $25 billion a year, right? And the real scenario is, even for FDIs to come, you need to have a strong national policy, a look forward plan, a go forward plan, so people can invest with ease, looking for a policy consistency, and also the other levels of support, as I said, in terms of trade, in terms of government support, in terms of tax reforms. There are a lot of changes that need to happen for foreign investments to come and stay here. And the investments in Sri Lanka has been narrowed because we did not have a development bank as compared to other countries. If you take Brazil, South Korea, Vietnam, India has 11 development banks. And so the role of the development banks is to finance growth. So if we are expecting to grow, but we are borrowing from commercial banks. So when you borrow at 21%, 23%, providing collateral, after providing collateral, there is no way a business could thrive. So we understand it's not easy, but we need to find a way of ensuring that we have low cost, long term capital. Some says, given that we are a middle income country, the low cost capital is no more. But that's not entirely true. There's a lot of green funds, there's a lot of funds for climate change, and there is a lot of funds that we can squeeze out from the national savings as well, because our current national savings are not coming back to development, and half of it is reinvested in the money market, where the government is in debt, and the entire pot of capital that we accumulate goes back to financing the government. So these are kind of things that's been covered in the industrial policy. And what we really want to establish is that there will be a agreed plan from the industry with the government. Say tourism, whether we could agree on 8 billion target within 5 years, and what are the actions that we need to do, what should be the role of the government, what should be the role of the industry, what will be the opportunities for new investments, where are the new areas that we want people to invest. This has to be clear, so that we all work on a particular game plan. And this is what we want to establish with a strong national industrial development policy, plus industry consultation in terms of supporting the government in achieving those targets, and also the government supporting the industry both as a whole and also for certain identified businesses to achieve what they want to achieve. So this clarity between what Sri Lanka want to achieve, when we say $45 billion, it cascades down to every industry. It cascades down to your business. And that is where the government will be the facilitator, true facilitator, in allowing you to start up business, expand your business, take your business to other countries, allowing you to have the right technology, enabling you to have the right skill, ensuring that you are not burdened by the bureaucracy, is what we want to do. So, what I said looks nice. No? If these things can happen, any country can grow. So now the question is, can NPP put this in play? So this is where we think the capability and the team comes into play. That is why we need a good mix of people with, various skills and various capabilities to be in the governance, and with the support from the society, especially from the business and the business sector and the industrialists and the professionals, that the government will have the strength to do these changes that previous governments were not able to do. So there were two reasons why changes did not happen. If you take very simpler things like digital ID, why couldn't Sri Lanka get onto a digital platform in terms of authentication, right? So they will have various challenges being said. One department is not happy to share their data. Some might say there is a cartel who's happy with printing IDs, so they don't want to give that contract away. So various excuses has been made because the system were allowed to be corrupt. System were allowed to remain as it is, so it enables some people to make illicit money out of the system or make lives difficult so that you pay a bribe to get things done. So what's different from last month? The bureaucracy, for something not to happen, you need the bureaucracy and politician both to work together. And even for something to happen also, you need both parties to work together. What we have stopped now is the corruption and the intention of inefficiencies from the political side. Right? There will be certain changes that we might need to do in the bureaucracy. I won't say it's about the 100%, but there will be few places where we might have to take strong decisions and make changes. And that is the intention and the will that NPP has. And that is a mandate given by the people to make these changes. So that is why we are going to start our entire program through digital. Because digital is going to enable most of these bottlenecks to be free. Why? Because it will make things transparent. It will change the process. It will push the current working structure to change. Rather than we try to change the entire system, if we can bring technology for certain areas, especially in the critical areas, we think this change can be tangibly visible to people. And at the same time, the ministries, what we have thought is, traditionally, the minister is so powerful. Minister accumulates votes from various districts and he becomes more powerful than the president also. So that problem is also solved in National People's Power. Because we are not individually creating votes or, gaining power, because we have a party structure, that we have a methodical way of contesting, and whoever goes into the parliament or whoever takes a portfolio, our mandate is to ensure that the policy book that we have presented get implemented. So there won't be the conflict of interest which all politicians had. So the minister is not strong in that sense to derail the program that the mandate was given by the people. The other common question is that early also, when Gotabaya came into power, there were so many professionals like this coming and supporting the government. Why didn't it work, and why would it work this time? So the reason that why would it work this time, I met few of those people who took responsibilities, some board positions and director positions. What they said was, through 2 to 3 months they tried to make change, but when they tried to make structural changes in the institution, they were blocked by the politician because the politician was powerful. Second, when they created possible changes and suggestions and new ways of doing things, they had to go and explain to politicians who had zero clue or zero interest in change. You can think of a very known CEO of a private sector putting up a new proposal and sitting in front of Basil Rajapaksa trying to explain how good his proposal is. Oh, Prasanna Ranatunga. Oh, various names that comes to my mind, but that was the biggest problem they had. So most of them resigned within the first year and had to leave Gotabaya alone to deal with the political structure. Even people chose Gotabaya as a president. People gave power to the previous corrupt clan. So that is what we want to change now here. So we have got the president who has the willpower, who has the commitment, who has the understanding, who is very capable of driving change. Obviously he is, because we drove change from 3% to victory. Now he needs a good team who will support him, and also a team who will listen to the industry, who will listen to the experts, who will work collaboratively with the industry with zero personal interest to bring the best proposal to the cabinet, is what under Disanayaka now we need. So I think now we do have that opportunity to make that change. And personally, I think my experience with digital transformation, it's not easy thing, even in a private organization, it's not easy. Making change is not easy. And my knowledge working with the industrialists for the last 1.5 years will help us drive this home. We have to drive this home. There's no other generation who's going to do this. Most of us came into politics because we thought this is actually the last chance. I can't use some words because those words has been misused. So you can't say Yahapalani, it's been misused. You can't say Saubhagya, it's been misused. Right? So apart from that, I think what this change means is that what we really want as NPP is social change that you are driving in the mindsets of your locality, your people. It can be people who are here as industrialists who want to make a change in their industry. We want you to champion it. We want you to champion it. Because if you champion it, it's easy for the government to support. There are certain businesses who has made inroads into the global market on their own. But what if we did it together? What if the government also supported them? What if the government comes and support few more industries to get into global trade? So we want you to lead and the government to support. So in a nutshell, the economic strategy is very simple. It's not what been told by Samagi Jana Balawege 1 month ago. We are not going to take assets and wealth, and we are not a Robin Hood's new version of Tuck and March and Marian. We are not those people. But what we are here to say is there will be a proper plan, agreed plan for the country that is agreed by the industry to achieve what we want to achieve. Private sector will be given enormous opportunity to start business and grow business and do business. Government will ensure there's a low cost base for your industries to run and provide those facilitations to ensure that you achieve the targets that we set for. Right? Apart from that, government will ensure that poverty is eradicated and ensure people are fed, ensure health is at a global standard level, ensure education is at a global standard level, ensure transportation is at a global standard level. That is what government will be doing. So I think for reference, you can look at countries like South Korea and Vietnam, where there's a huge potential for private investment to grow, both local and foreign. And government will play again a substantial role in supporting our industries to win the world. So that's in a nutshell what our game plan is. Lastly, it's about the selections at the upcoming election. So as I told you, we have put good team from Colombo, and I want to correct some of you. I have heard a lot of people saying we need professionals in parliaments. I know I am shooting on my foot here, but it's okay. That does not mean what politics is, right? So if you need a real politician, number one qualification is integrity and honesty. That's number one, right? Second is ability to sacrifice, your commitment. Third is being able to work in a team in a disciplined manner. If you don't have those three qualifications, it doesn't matter you have CMA, CFA or MBAs or PhDs. It doesn't make sense. So therefore, NPP has ensured we have very good blend of people in the 21 list. There are full-time politicians. We have to have a huge regard for them because their commitment is unparalleled, unmatchable to what we have done. We have given opportunity to come into politics over the last 3 to 4 years, but not for the people who held the party together on the ground. This party can't go forward much further. So we need a good blend of people. That is why the smart people here has 3 choices. And that is why NPP has also given you a good mix of full-time politicians and professionals. So make it a wise choice, right? So I think from a political party perspective, we have given choices, and it's about the citizens now making a very smart choice, because next parliament will be the parliament which has the highest number of females. Isn't that good? It's progression, right? Next parliament will be the parliament which will have probably more teachers and lawyers, right? And next parliament will have professionals like us as well. So there is a good choice, and it's up to you for you to explore. I know we are a little lazy to explore. I'm sorry that we are not known like other parties. But as much as we did a lot of effort to bring Anuradha Sahanayake to power, to learn about NPP, it's all about us people who are here, learning about all 21 of them in Colombo and making a calculated choice. And when someone asks whom to vote, I met more than 50 people last 2 to 3 days. They said, we don't know whom to vote for. Only the person I have seen is you. So I said, no, you can't do that. It's not fair. It's not going to sustain the system. So if you are in politics, if you want to make a change in politics, we have to change the entire culture. We are still going back to old narrative of trying to figure out who's the minister going to be. If the minister is the one who's going to fix things, we are not going to get out of this system. Because as much as the minister can fix it, there's the same probability that minister can screw it also. Remember that. That is traditional politics. We have to end this. So what we are saying is, we will have ministers who are capable of running a particular portfolio based on the people who will be selected, and each of them will work collectively as a team to ensure that the policy direction are met, and each of these ministers will be given a strong team as advisories to ensure that they don't fail on their delivery. So take this message to others. Try to educate them, saying we have ended the old politics, hoping a one magical guy can take a ministry and turn around the entire country. No. The Ministry of Education has to work with Ministry of Industries. The success of education will be reflected in the industrialization. Success of technology will reflect in governance. Success of tourism will be reflective in SME sector. Everything is connected. So it's the cabinet we are trying to fix. It's the entire team we are trying to fix. And in that fix, I am a small part of the puzzle. If at all. And even if it's not me, we will keep fighting for this change. I can be advisor to some minister, right? So this is the politics we are in. So I urge you to understand the politics of NPP, because that's what's going to change this game, right? And step a little away from individualistic dreams and hopes of, someone can fix this. No, it's the entire team that's going to fix it. As individuals, we might fail, but the team will pick it up. That's how it's going to happen. And we will show you how it's done. But we have to get our mindset a little changed. And I would invite all of you to read our policy book again, so that you know what you have voted for, and you know how to convince someone who you meet outside here today. Because we need a majority government. We need majority of the people to endorse this change. It's not an easy change that we are going to do. We have a rotten system. We have a corrupt system. We have corrupt officials. And we expect politicians to do this change alone. It's not going to happen. The entire society has to back us. Entire society has to understand how difficult this is. Entire society has to understand it will be incremental changes, not transformative changes overnight. It's going to be very tough. So that toughness can be smoothened only by the educated knowing what we are trying to do and how we are trying to do, and you also being part of the change. There will be opportunity opening up for many of you to take challenge. Please do take that challenge, and we are happy some of the corporate leaders already have made that choice similar to us, and each of us has a role. I am taking a role as a politician. It is no different to the role that you would take as a citizen. But if you all think, now we have selected a team, NPP, good people, honest people, now you go and fix it and we will go back to our own work. It's not going to happen. So as active citizens, you have to keep pushing, challenging us, giving us ideas, ensuring that we do the right thing, ensuring that we do what's been presented to you. That was the entire campaigners about. Dr. Harini always say, this is the social contract. We gave you a book. Now we want to do it, and now you need to know what the book says. We can't do anything different, and we should not be allowed to do anything different. And we need active citizenship from day one. And the day that we celebrate is the day that this government will get re-elected again by the citizens. Up until that point, the probability of failure is high. It's not an easy task. Everyone you talk to, they say fix customs, fix customs, fix customs. That's the only thing in my head now. I can't talk to any industrialist. They say, no, your policy and all that, you keep Chathuranga, go and fix customs. Right? There are fundamental things that's not been resolved. And that's not easy also. You can see the majority of the citizens, as I told you earlier, are not educated in that sense to understand a policy and see how it's progressing, right? Because people want coconut at a lower price. But it takes 6 years to grow a coconut tree. Right? People want us to fix certain things overnight. And the opposition is not going to stay slow. So here we have a bunch of people who's aspiring to change. What's common with us is all of us has agreed to stay back in Sri Lanka. Now we have to fight. And that fight doesn't end by you electing Andro Disanayaka or myself or anybody from NPP to Parliament. At this point, how many politicians are running the show with power? 3. Month ago, we thought this entire country is run by politicians. There's no urban council, there's no provincial council, there's no parliament, there's 3 people in power as ministers. We have electricity, we have water, we have schools running, we have the police running, we have election running. Where are the politicians? As much as they don't poach their hand into the system, this system will run. That's what we want to establish. That's the change what we want to bring. As much as it's been derailed by politicians, we will need politics to put it back into play. But what we want to leave is a system where the politicians will work on the continuous improvement of the society and the state service will run it efficiently, like that happens in another country. So we have set enough good standards. We want to become a Nordic country. We want to become a New Zealand. We want to become Australia in governance. We want to become Singapore. Yes, it's possible. It's possible. But there's a long way to go. There's a long way to go. So we will set the standards. Help us in that. Protect us in misinformation. Protect us in terms of miscommunication that is, creating noise on the outside, because we don't want to do anything wrong. We will do everything in our capacity and capability to do everything right. But it's not easy, right? So here I'm going to stop my long speech and probably open up for a few questions if you have. And thank you again for coming here and spending your evening trying to learn a bit about what NPP is and what we want to do to the economy and how we will create a rich country and a happy life. I will end with one quote from Andro Disanayaka, because this is the most simplest quote of all that has made most UNPers vote for us this time. It says, what we want is, we would like richer to get richer, but what we don't want is poorer to become poorer. That simple statement is going to make history. ඒක සිංහලෙන් මිරටි ලස්සනට ඒක තියෙනවා. පොහොසත් අය තව පොහොසත් වුණාට අපිට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. දුප්පත් අය තව දුප්පත් වීමයි අපිට ප්‍රශ්නේ කියලා. I think it's a very simple way of putting our economic philosophy into play. Thank you very much.